I ran my marathon PB in this shoe. You probably want to know a bit more about my experience. I'm going to share lots of insights with you today. Hey everyone, and welcome back on the channel. My name is Alex. In today's video, we have a post-race experience of the Adidas Adizero Adios Pro 4. Let's call it, for simplicity, the Adios Pro 4 in this video. This shoe was provided to us by Top4Running, and as always, if you use code META, META, on top4running.com, there's a link in the description. The code META will give you a 5% discount. It helps us because we also get a small kickback when you purchase an item on top4running.com using code META. So thanks a lot for using it, and thanks to Top4Running for helping us with the Berlin Marathon project. Let's look into my feedback about the Adios Pro 4. This shoe now has my marathon PB, 2 hours and 49 minutes and 25 seconds. This is my best marathon time ever. It used to be a Nike Vaporfly Next Percent V1, the green neon shoe that had my 5K, 10K and marathon PBs. Now this shoe took one of them away from the Vaporfly Next Percent V1. So yeah, I'm very happy to have a new shoe in my PB collection, if that makes sense. How did it work? First of all, the upper and the fit. Just like I said in the review of this shoe, the fit is so much better compared to the Adios Pro 3. The rest of the team unfortunately couldn't race in this shoe, and they raced in the Adios Pro 3. Tim in particular had some issues with it, some pressure around the collar of the shoe that he is still experiencing today, a few days after the race. He still has that pressure noticeable around his ankle. So definitely not the best experience on the Adios Pro 3. I had pretty much the same issues with lacing pressure, with heel discomfort, and with areas of chafing on the Adios Pro 3. This shoe had none of it. Really a very good fit, true to size, with enough room at the front, and in general in the toe box for my feet when they were swelling a bit at the end of the race. After 2 hours, after 3 hours, you have a bit more volume in your feet, and therefore it's good to have a shoe that can accommodate a bit that swelling. This is the case here in the shoe. No lacing pressure. I did some runner's knot, and that was for two reasons. The first one was just because I really wanted to be 100% sure that I had the best possible lockdown here in the midfoot area for that 42 kilometers race, but also because the laces are a bit on the longer side of things, and I didn't want to be bothered by them moving around for the duration of the race. So I did this, and I did a double knot as well on top. Looking at the heel, I didn't have any issues. Again, I think the material, that red material that you can see here, is a bit worn already, and it shows the sign of a material that is a bit used, and it's only 60-ish kilometers on the shoe, including one marathon. I'm afraid this will be one area of durability concerns in the shoe, that heel collar, the red part that you see here. You know, it's only visual to a certain extent. It didn't cause any issues during the race. So overall, the upper, the fit, everything was spot on, really good experience. It's also one of the first times I'm racing a full distance marathon with stock insoles of a shoe. Usually I swap them for my custom orthotics, and this time around I went for the stock insoles for two reasons. The first one is I forgot my custom orthotics at home, and the second one is that I actually feel like it's fair to review a shoe with the stock insoles that most people will be running with. I'm always doing the two. I'm always trying the stock insoles in a shoe and also with my custom orthotics to get the two experiences and to be able to compare apples to apples when I'm comparing shoes. But no issues with the insoles. They were in position, glued. They didn't move around. They are obviously not as supportive in the arch area as my custom orthotics might be, but that's all right. And for the marathon, it worked well. Now the midsole and the experience in terms of ride. The shoe is softer than the Adios Pro 3, yes. I did feel it really quite a lot in the first runs I did with the shoe. And then during the marathon, surprisingly, it didn't feel as soft as what I thought. It's still much softer than the Adios Pro 3. But during the course of a marathon, your mind tends also to forget a bit the exaggeration of things. I feel like the softness was really noticeable in the first kilometers of each run, including the marathon, and after some time just get used to it, and that softness tended to disappear. What I said in the review was also that this shoe didn't handle slower paces very well. Obviously, during the course of the marathon, I didn't really run at slower paces. I didn't have to because I was just feeling good throughout. I stopped for 25 seconds to stretch a cramp that was starting at kilometer 38, but this issue didn't force me to walk or to jog to the finish line. I was able to resume at my race pace. Therefore, I didn't experience that slower pace in this shoe other than during the warm-up. And yes, again, during the warm-up, this shoe showed how not suited it is for slower paces. At marathon pace, I was really surprised because, again, in my initial review, I said that this shoe was better at faster paces, 5K, 10K, maybe half marathon. It did prove how good it is as well at marathon pace. I was very surprised by how well it worked for me at marathon pace during the Berlin Marathon. And obviously, you know, some people might think I am biased because I ran a PB in this shoe and I should be very happy with it. But if I'm honest, I'm really trying to separate my personal performance from how this shoe performed on race day. I was pleasantly surprised to discover that this shoe also had the potential to be a great marathon racer and not just a shoe for faster paces for me, which kind of makes it even better in my mind because now I feel like it's super versatile from 5K to marathon, whereas before my marathon in Berlin, I thought, hey, maybe it's only good for 5K, 10K, and maybe half marathon. So no, it's a good marathon racer. The outstanding feature, if that makes sense, is the freshness of the legs. I raced a few marathons in my life, a few long runs as well with some intensity, and I know a bit how I feel on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4 after the race. The freshness in the legs that I have a few days after the race with this shoe is better than with some other shoes, and I'm not saying this lightly. I know this has, you know, quite an impact on you watching and probably thinking maybe this is the perfect shoe for harder workouts in the marathon build-up or even on 2 key races with only a few days, a few weeks apart. This shoe can help you be fresher at the second race, at the second event. I feel like it's the case. I mean, my legs really don't feel as beaten as after some other marathons, some other races. I was able to resume running very quickly at decent paces with a very good feeling in the legs, if that makes sense. So I think this is really the outstanding feature of this foam. It's efficient. I feel like I was running at a decent power for the pace I was sustaining. So I think this shoe is efficient, but most importantly, it provides with a lot of leg freshness. So quite interesting here. Also, and this is where probably I have a bit of a drawback for this shoe. I said in my initial review that I didn't run on wet surfaces with it. Now it's the case, I did, only for some limited portions, you know, 100, 200, 300 meters at a time at the aid stations. Obviously, I was not among the very first runners, so there was already quite some water spilled on the ground when I was passing through the aid stations. And I was experiencing probably one of the best tests you can have for an outsole in terms of grip and traction, transitioning from a dry surface onto a wet surface. I could really feel how this shoe was grippy. It is not bad, but it's not as great as Continental Rubber on the Adios Pro 3. I feel like this is a little bit less grippy and it's providing a bit less confidence, if that makes sense. When transitioning from that dry to wet surface, once you're on the wet, your brain also starts to learn and to understand that it's a bit different in terms of surface. You need to step a bit differently, to toe off a bit differently, because that lack of traction is really noticeable in the forefoot. But the transition is really where you can feel how grippy a shoe is or isn't, if that makes sense. And I feel like this is kind of going backwards a little bit compared to the full Continental Rubber on some other Adidas shoes. I said it also in the initial review and in the comparison against the Alpha Fly and the Cloudboom Echo. I feel like 250 euros for this shoe is a very good price point when you compare it against other shoes. You get, again, that very wide versatility, very wide range of options of paces at which you can run in the shoe, except slower paces in between your intervals or warming up, cooling down after an event. But anything race pace from 5K up to the marathon is covered by the shoe for a price that is below its direct competitors. Good job, Adidas, I guess. That's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this post-race debrief with the Adidas Adizero Adios Pro 4. Let's link to the review if you want to know more right here. Thanks a lot for watching. Enjoy your run today, enjoy your ride, and go beyond your limits. I will see you in the next one.